Getting started in Maintainly could not be easier. All you need is at least one asset. That's the equipment that you're maintaining, and then you're ready to add, plan, and track maintenance tasks. Let's jump in and see how easy it is to get started. First, we head to Assets in the left side menu and click New Asset. Each asset needs a name that will allow your users to distinguish it from other assets. Sometimes, the asset name might simply be a grouping, with the intention of adding a group of like assets as children under it to keep them all together. But the Maintainly asset hierarchy is unlimited, so you'll be able to keep adding child assets to build out the asset hierarchy. You also have the option of completing an import template in Excel. You can find that template in the Help section. In this case, since we're adding the very first asset, we need to add a site where the asset resides. The good news is that we can do that on the fly by simply typing the asset name and clicking to create. The asset name is the only mandatory field, and you can complete as little or as much as you would like. You can also come back later and complete things like manufacturer, model, and serial number. After saving, the additional tabs are enlivened, including custom fields, metrics, and automations. Automations are what define when and why preventative maintenance tasks are generated, and we'll come to them shortly. But with one asset, we're now ready to add some tasks. So let's head over to Tasks in the left side menu. There are two core types of tasks in Maintainly: reactive tasks, which are things like breakdowns or planned maintenance, and scheduled tasks, which is your preventative maintenance. First, we'll add a reactive task. Click New Task and then select the asset most appropriate to the issue. Let's start by giving the task a title. If you've already added some work types, then you'll also select from your work types list at this stage. If you're in a position to plan when the work should be performed, you can add that here, as well as estimated work time and estimated downtime, if appropriate or desired. Otherwise, they can be left blank. The first comment should give some details about the issue, and you can also drag files in here like photographs and PDFs. We've already populated some example labels for you here. Labels help you quickly communicate characteristics of tasks that fit your unique workflow and assist in the day-to-day planning and management of tasks. If we're ready to complete the task now, we can click Save and Continue, or just save it to head back to the task list view. Within the tasks, we can see a chronological feed of everything that's been done and by whom. We can add new comments. We can upload photos, particularly if you're using the Maintainly mobile app, as well as PDFs. Modify the task labels if and when required. We can also add checklists on either an ad hoc basis to set reminders for ourselves, or by adding predefined checklists if the organization already has set procedures that are required to be followed when particular issues occur. On the Technicians tab, we can both assign users to tasks and have a push notification sent to their mobile app, as well as track technician work time. We can log spare part consumption on the Materials tab, and that will immediately draw down from our inventory. On the Metrics tab, we can add a new meter reading, and we can access the supporting files associated with the asset model, or the preventative maintenance task template, which we'll get to shortly. But as long as we're happy with the data provided, we can go back to the Activity tab and click Save and Close to close out the task. Now, let's take a quick look at setting up some preventative maintenance on our asset. Preventative maintenance tasks can be auto-generated by first establishing a task template, which defines the procedure, among other things, which can be set up once and then used by any number of assets on a repeating basis. A task template looks pretty similar to what we just saw when adding a reactive task, but the content we add here will automatically be populated into a new task by Maintainly every time an automation on a specific asset triggers it. So we can describe a set procedure and add some photos. We can create checklists of items to be completed each time the task is performed, and create a material kit if some spare parts might be used every time this task template is used. And we can add some related files that technicians might need to refer to. We now head over to one of our assets to set up the automation trigger. So let's click Assets in the left side menu and then filter for and click into the asset. In this case, I'm going to add a metric-based automation and base the preventative maintenance on the number of hours logged. That means I must first define what metrics or meter readings we'll be collecting on this asset. So I first click the Metrics tab and then click New Metric. My metric will be based on run hours, and since hours can't go backwards, we'll say that it's linear. And I'm planning to take all my meter readings once a week on a Monday morning, so I'll define a meter reading interval of 1 week. We can also take meter readings that are not necessarily related to recurring preventative maintenance. So, for example, I might add a second meter reading that's related to engine temperature, and then later on add another task template and automation to trigger a task only if and when my temperature readings go outside of some predefined thresholds. But let's keep it simple to start with by going to Automations and getting our run hours trigger set up. Click New Automation and select whether we want to add a time-based, such as weekly, monthly, yearly, or a metric-based automation based on meter readings. My automation trigger will be metric-based. Select the task template and the trigger to be used whenever Maintainly auto-triggers a task. Be sure to define the parameters most appropriate to the type of metric that you're tracking. The options will change slightly depending on the type of metric. Click Confirm and that's it. Maintainly will generate a new task when appropriate. Metric readings can be added via the Metrics page. This is quite helpful for readings that are taken on a set schedule because it will tell you when to take those readings. But readings can also be added whenever performing a task on an asset that has a metric. So we've now established an asset, added a reactive task, set up a task template, and added a metric to an asset, as well as a metric-based automation to trigger preventative maintenance automatically. Check out the Maintainly help section to continue your setup journey.